Thank you for this opportunity to speak on such an important topic. I'm going to talk about integrating medical device cybersecurity into a medical device quality management system. This image at the bottom right shows a common approach to cybersecurity in medical devices, where security is more or less an afterthought. It's bolted on afterwards. But for ISO 13485, you have to embed risk-based decision-making throughout your quality management system. The whole point of a quality management system is to ensure that the medical devices and services you provide consistently meet stakeholder and regulatory requirements. Every QMS activity could either positively or negatively impact the medical device or service you provide. So you have to design your QMS processes based on the potential risk to safety and regulatory compliance, and now security as well. Now, there are many standards and regulatory guidance documents available that are aimed at managing cybersecurity risk throughout the product lifecycle. But these documents focus on medical device design, development, and risk management. Because you have to embed that security risk-based thinking in your QMS, an alternative approach is recommended to ensure cybersecurity risk is considered throughout the entire quality system and thus the product lifecycle. The United States National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, has a cybersecurity framework now in its second release aimed at securing organizations. This framework speaks to governance and maintenance of secure processes, and it's not specific to medical devices. The framework can be applied to a medical device quality system, however, and in fact, NIST is encouraging development of sector-specific community profiles to help assist with framework implementation. When you embed risk-based thinking in the QMS, the products you make are safer. When you embed security risk-based thinking in your QMS, your products will be more secure and hopefully more safe as well. The NIST Cybersecurity Framework version 2 includes 6 basic functions. Version 1 had 5 functions. Governance has been separated out from the other 5 functions that it was embedded in version 1 and given its own emphasis in version 2. Governance helps the organization understand its current security risk profile and where it would like to go so it can develop appropriate risk management strategies and policies. Governance informs how the organization prioritizes the outcomes of the remaining 5 functions that are shown on this slide. Those 5 functions in order: identify what are the risks to your organization, to your medical device. Protect, how do you prevent those risks from occurring? Detect, because attackers are relentless, trust me, how can we detect when they try to intrude? It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Respond, once you do detect an event, what are you going to do about it? How will your device handle it? How will your quality system handle it? And finally, recover. How do you resume full operations of both your business and your product after you experience a security incident? So we'll walk through the framework and how it applies in a medical device quality management system. When you implement the NIST framework, you have to figure out what your current security profile looks like. Then decide where you want to go next and determine the gaps. We're all quality professionals here, medical device professionals. We should be familiar with gap assessments. Then based on that assessment, you're going to develop and execute an action plan to get you to the next level. The framework provides this tiered structure shown on this slide as a maturity model by which the organization can assess their security journey. Remember, your adversaries always are at work trying to improve their tactics, techniques, and procedures to get into your devices and networks, you should do the same for your defense. We look at this tiered system. Tier 1 is where most of us probably are at this point. We analyze some security risks and produce some documentation. Tier 2 is where your organization is more risk-informed. You start making those security risk-based decisions throughout your quality system. Tier 3 is where that risk-based thinking becomes habitual. And Tier 4 is where the organization now can start to adapt to new challenges that are posed by the continuously evolving threat landscape. I'll be using the diagram on the right as we walk through how we can apply this security risk-based thinking throughout our medical device quality system. This is not a comprehensive diagram, but it does give you some idea of some of the activities that occur in a quality management system that affect the device as well as the organization. Consider every element shown from supplier management, top left, to development in the middle, to manufacturing, failure analysis, should something go wrong in the customer's hands, and then hopefully we never go this route, but field action. All these activities require both safety and security risk-based thinking. So we'll use this simplified diagram to walk through the important security touch points in the quality management system as we go through the remainder of the presentation. The first element is govern. Governance includes all the management responsibilities that we're familiar with in an ISO 13485 compliant quality management system. You have a quality manual and quality policy. Your organization's manual and policy should address security as well as safety. We want to make safe and effective medical devices, but they should also be secure. Tracking and trending. You have to have management oversight. So tracking and trending of issues and management review of those issues on a periodic basis is also important. And those issues need to include anything related to security. Of course, management is also responsible for establishing and maintaining the safety and security risk management policies. And then supply chain security, making sure that everything that comes into the organization to be used in products is secure. Well, those activities include things like assessing supplier risk, making sure they're capable of managing cybersecurity risk, evaluating those suppliers, approving and auditing on an ongoing basis to make sure that you're receiving the best possible components for your device. If we take a deep dive into supply chain security, we see that over the past 3 years, from 2020 to 2023, attacks on supply chains, including open source repositories, are up 13-fold. If your medical device software uses any open source code, and it's very likely that you do, then the onus is on you to ensure the open source component is authentic and free of malware. The open source developer is not likely to help you out because they don't consider themselves to be your supplier. Most do this on a part-time out of the goodness of their heart and take maybe some contributions, but this is not their job to support medical device manufacturers. Fake hardware is also rampant. A lot of counterfeiting in the supply chain, so you have to scrutinize everything you receive and conduct detailed first article and receiving inspections to make sure that you're getting the authentic supplied components and that they don't contain any backdoors or malware. The next framework element is identify. Here we're trying to identify potential security risks. One of the first steps is to identify what assets you have in your device that are of value to a threat actor. What motivates somebody to want to ruin your day or hurt somebody? Are they after money, information, which often equals money, fame, or just laughs? You need to understand those threat actors and their motivations, as well as what they want to go after. You need to also understand the threat landscape. Who are those actors? How might they attempt to penetrate your device and wreak havoc? Threat modeling and analysis of known software anomalies and vulnerabilities helps you determine your attack surface and how attackers might get in. So you need to monitor those anomalies and vulnerabilities, not only during development, but after product release throughout the rest of the life cycle, including installation, maintenance, servicing, product decommissioning, and disposal. Everything needs to be secured. And then monitor the medical device industry sector you're in and your competitors. Right? You can join, for example, an information sharing and analysis organization like Health ISAC that monitors for security events that might affect you, your industry, or your products. Threat modeling is a continuous effort based on feedback from threat intelligence from organizations like Health ISAC, your problem resolution process from your software development framework, and various quality management system elements. So you're doing a lot of post-market surveillance, both internally, like audits in your QMS, and externally. Make sure you gather all that information and funnel it into your threat model. That, again, is identifying the assets and the individuals attempting to exploit those assets and what that impact might be on your medical device. You want to include threats not only to your own device, but also threats that occur through any IT infrastructure on which your device depends, device platforms, and data. For example, if you're using cloud services, you need to consider that. If you're using software running on a consumer laptop, you need to consider that. A smartphone. All those impact the potential threats to your device. Next framework element is protect. The goal is to prevent security issues from occurring in the first place. Secure code, secure data. Prevent unintended access to the device and any of those assets, any of those things of value that somebody might want to get or destroy. If your device uses those elements of IT infrastructure, platforms, or cloud services, remember those components are not developed for secure medical devices. They tend to be porous with respect to security, and they will require additional defense built into your device. That's device hardening. If you have an AI or ML-based application, you have to also take extra measures to defend your data. Anything used for initial training or for ongoing training of your model has to be secured from tampering and adversarial attack. If you always follow secure design best practices, you're going to secure your hardware, software, and data. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, is promoting security by design and security by default. Going back to that introductory slide, you can't bolt security on later. It has to be designed into your device, and it should always be the default. This requires you to, again, monitor that continuously evolving threat landscape, always seeking out new threat actors, attack vectors, and vulnerabilities. You also need to be careful about expanding your own attack surface when Marketing comes to you with a suggestion to add a new feature or functionality. Let's connect to Bluetooth devices now. Well, that increases your attack surface. You also need to be able to detect and log any anomalous event. So we all work in medical device quality systems. We understand that if it isn't documented, it didn't happen. But that's the same for security. If you don't know what happened, you can't react. You can't do anything if you can't detect it. So make your device configuration secure by default. By default, we mean make the user specifically opt out of a secure configuration if they need to. Otherwise, take that assumed breach posture and defend the device and its data from the attacker. The next framework element we're going to discuss is detect. Some of the activities that you can do for monitoring is making sure that all of your supplied components, hardware and software, are checked. Your device should also take actions to monitor the assets and any indicators of compromise that indicate anomalous behavior. And create a log. There needs to be an audit trail because that's going to support the next framework elements we're going to talk about. You can look inside your quality system for potential security issues as well. Look at nonconformances, failure analysis, complaints. Think security as a potential root cause when you're doing a root cause analysis. Review your safety and your security risk management files to see if there's been any impact to safety or security based on a detected issue. And of course, make whatever updates are appropriate. One example of such detection is endpoint detection and response, or EDR. This has been long implemented. If you bring your own cell phone or laptop into the workspace, you probably need to install special software that does endpoint detection and response. That software is helping protect your device from allowing attackers into your system. Depending on the medical device architecture, you could leverage some existing endpoint detection and response solutions, or at least incorporate the various principles shown on the right side of this slide into your device design. If your device can collect and transmit information about these potential security events back to the home base, that could be an important feed into your failure analysis, design change, or other QMS activities. It also comes with its own security baggage, so there is always design trade-off to consider. The next framework element is respond. You can see a lot of touch points throughout the quality system for responding to a cybersecurity incident. This is the element you hope you never have to activate. You don't want to have a cybersecurity incident, but if you do, you have to be able to respond. So you need to have a process in place and you need to have a plan in place. Your incident response process will be based on your management policy. You have to have that plan in place, and it may be organization-wide or specific to individual devices. You need to have a cross-functional team involved. So a lot of people will have to get pulled in if there is an actual security incident. Certainly legal, regulatory. They'll have to do a lot of communicating with various authorities. Quality, engineering, customer support. There are a lot of functions that need to be engaged to help coordinate a response to a cybersecurity incident. Strongly recommend partnering with local and national law enforcement. Here in the US, organizations like the FBI and Secret Service and the CISA or CISA are begging to get involved in these kind of attacks because that helps them protect other people as well. And last but certainly not least, practice. Practice, practice, practice. engage your stakeholders and your partners, engage your internal response personnel. You have to know how to react because you won't have time to build this process while you're in the middle of an incident. The time from a vulnerability being published to an active exploit, including data exfiltration and encryption, like a ransomware attack, that's dropped from about a month a few years ago. It now takes an attacker 1 or 2 days to exploit something once it's published. So you don't have time to build a plane while you're flying it. And it's only going to get worse. Generative AI, the new hot topic, is going to help attackers develop exploit code in probably hours in the next few years. So make sure that you have a process in place and you've practiced it well before you ever need it. And hopefully you never do. So part of the incident response is recovery. How are you going to bounce back when you do experience an incident? You have to get your device back to a known, safe, secure, stable state, and the same with your organization. It's going to create a lot of havoc. So let the stakeholders know what actions they can take to recover from the incident. In your device, recovery should be as automatic as possible, although it may involve shutting down the device and requiring a return to a service depot or factory for either repair or reconfiguration. Full recovery could be a longer-term process. Think prevention in the CAPA process. You may have to modify the device, maybe a design or process change. That could trigger another submission. But regardless, whenever you experience a cybersecurity event, you likely have to notify regulatory authorities anyway. But address the urgent security issues, especially those that put patient safety at risk first, then notify. One element that's required for FDA submissions, and is certainly a security best practice globally, is a coordinated vulnerability disclosure process. This is where you inform all stakeholders at the right time of a vulnerability that you've discovered, either internally or externally, that could affect security, safety, or effectiveness of the device. You have to have vulnerability notification, evaluation, and response plans included in your incident response. So being able to patch and update and turn those around to the field, that's a critical piece of cybersecurity response. In summary, the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 can be used to ensure security risk-based thinking gets incorporated throughout your quality system, and as a result, throughout the entire medical device lifecycle. You have to incorporate the policies and procedures that drive security risk-based thinking and make sure that those practices trickle down into your device. Secure your supply chain. Know your threats. Design for security. Make your device secure by default. Monitor, detect, and log all events. Lock down your sensitive assets and make sure you can recover to a known, safe, and stable state.